Hi, this is Carolyn Cooper, and in just 2 days, my book, In This Corner, Battling Trauma and Mental Illness from Inside the Ring, is going to be officially released. It's being published by Trilogy Christian Publishing. I wanted to share an interview I did with DeShawn Moore to share information about the book. So I hope it's only about 10 minutes. I hope you'll take the time to listen to it. And if this is a book that you are interested in purchasing, it is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. If you live in the Kansas City area, you can contact me, and I would love to hand deliver a signed copy, probably at a discounted price also. So let me know, and enjoy the interview.
Hey, it's your girl DeShawn, and I'm so glad you joined me on the show today. I have another amazing author. Her name is Carolyn Cooper, and if you have been dealing with any type of mental illness or traumatic experiences, even from the past, Carolyn's going to tell you about her book that's going to help you with that. Let's get right into the interview. Carolyn, how are you doing?
Hi, I am doing great, and it is such a privilege and a blessing to be here today.
I am so glad you are here. First of all, tell us just a little bit about you.
My husband and I have been married for 40 years. I have 4 grown children and 4 grandchildren. But the thing that God has really done in my life lately has moved me to be more and more involved in mental health ministry. And that fills most of my time.
Wonderful. Now, you've written a book that all of us need, because either we know someone who has dealt with mental illness, they have dealt with trauma in their life. Tell me the name of your book and how it came to be.
My book is called In This Corner, Battling Trauma and Mental Illness from Inside the Ring. And inside the ring is referring to a boxing ring, of course. In this corner, it's pretty typical boxing language. And the reason this book came to be is because I found myself standing in a boxing ring, fighting an enemy that I had denied even existed for many, many, many years. I was in the fight for my life, battling depression, battling post-traumatic stress disorder from a childhood trauma. And this book was one way that I journeyed through recovery. And it was not in my own power, DeShawn. It was in the power of the Lord. It was only in the power of the Holy Spirit. So that was about 20 years ago. And this book captures that fight and the victory we have in the Lord.
Let's talk about the fight. So many times we see the victory. We see you smiling, not Carolyn. We see you accomplished and wrote this wonderful written book, but they didn't know the journey. Tell us a little bit about the journey.
I was a child around the age of 10, and for several years in that time frame, I was experiencing some childhood trauma that was not addressed. I also at that time was starting to show signs of depression. Mental illness ran in my family, but I'm from a generation where my parents' generation did not discuss mental health or mental illness. So I was experiencing trauma and mental illness that was not addressed. As an adult, I thought I put it behind me. I thought, okay, I'm an adult. I'm going to college. Yes. Then I'm getting married. Yes. And then I'm having children. Yes. Everything is good. Hunky dory. But I never dealt with the trauma, and I never treated symptoms of the mental illness. It took 30 years for me to get to the place where I was on my bed for 3 months, totally despondent, in despair, lost my purpose, because I had not dealt with that childhood trauma and I was not treating the mental illness I had. So I really want to encourage listeners to please seek help as soon as you recognize there's a problem. I was on that bed, and one day, out of the blue, God reached down, pulled me out of that bed and onto my knees and said, the time is now, Carolyn. You have to get help. You have to change. And that day changed my life. I went into a 10-day outpatient treatment program at a psychiatric hospital. And after that 10 days, that's when I started journaling. And those journals turned into this book. At first, it was for me and for my healing and that analogy of the boxing match. But I knew that God could use that message to help others. And that's where this book came from.
I love it when experience brings about your purpose. And it seems as if your purpose is to tell someone you can get help. You can be better. And this book, especially if they get this book, they're going to be better, because sometimes people don't think someone else is going through what they're going through. So they go into a cave. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's set up like a workbook. I'm kind of a teacher at heart. I have a music education degree, and I love teaching. And this book is a workbook. So people have an opportunity to answer questions and work through things for themselves, hopefully in a support group or with a therapist. That really would be kind of the ideal use for the book.
I love it. Now, Carolyn, after you wrote the book, did you ever say, wow, what am I going to do with this? Or was your response, I am ready for the world to hear my story so I can help someone?
Well, let me tell you, I went into the psychiatric hospital in 2002. Okay. I had the book published in 2005 through a company. This is the original published version of the book. That company went out of business. Mm-hmm. So I did some self-publishing work, but nothing much has happened with the book. And this year, I am so excited that I'm working with Trilogy Christian Publishing, which is a branch of the Trinity Broadcasting Network, and they are publishing my book.
Oh my gosh.
It is so exciting. It is so exciting because you're right. I had it published in 2005, and I used it for myself and my support group. Mm-hmm. But it was okay with me if it just was not out there for the whole world to see, because even in my recovery time, I wasn't really that interested in broadcasting to the world what I had been through, because my family suffered. You're right. I'm in a great place right now. But mm-hmm. during those years when I was focusing on my recovery, my family still was suffering. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I still was not. It took many years to go through to where I could feel like I was really a healthy wife and a mom again. It took mm-hmm. years.
Many times our experiences are for someone else, and it seems like the world and anyone who's dealing with mental illness, they're going to benefit from even your hardships, your tests and trials. What do the readers, or what will the readers get out of your book?
Well, the first thing I want them to get out of this book is the fact that Jesus is in our corner.
Yeah.
Jesus is in our corner. And yes. I truly believe that this type of recovery, that ongoing, and when I say this type, what I mean is lasting recovery, cannot happen without the power of the Holy Spirit guiding your steps in the recovery process. So I want readers to read this and be encouraged to know that they are not alone. They do not have to have the power to overcome. They don't have to have courage from just themselves to overcome. They can rely on the Spirit to give them that courage and that power to get up when they want to stay in bed, mm-hmm. to give them the motivation to spend time with people they love when all they want to do is stay in their room with the door shut. Yeah. It's the power of the Holy Spirit. That's the number one thing, that God is the source to overcome.
I love it. How can we purchase your book, and tell us about your website and all of your contact information?
Okay. Well, my website is ingodscorner.org. And on that website, you will see information about my books, my speaking topics that I present, speaking at conferences and different places. And you'll see a link to my podcast, which is called Mental Health and Faith, A Closer Look. And I have lots of great interviews set up on my podcast for this year. My email is Carolyn, and that's spelled Caroline at ingodscorner.org. Carolyn at ingodscorner.org. I would love to hear from from anyone that needs some encouragement.
Carolyn, if you could leave one piece of advice for someone who is going through and they're like, I've tried everything and it seems like nothing is working, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, find someone or a support group where people have been through what you're going through. Mm-hmm. Because once you realize you're not alone and you surround yourself with people who have also been through similar experiences, that's when you can really see some hope for recovery. Because you can see people who have also been there and have overcome. And it's very inspiring. So definitely I would say, number one, find people who are in or going through or have been through a similar situation and draw support from them.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us today. Congratulations. We're excited about your book. I know our audience is. And look for God to do great things and hearing great testimonies of how your book inspired and blessed and healed someone's life.
Thank you so much. And for God to have the glory in overcoming.